Since ancient times, humans have dreamed up grandiose projects and spent equally immense sums to turn their architectural visions into reality. Most often, this perpetual process yields exemplary results and designs that guide generations ahead, but sometimes nature plays its card against the architect's desires, leaving the fate of their designs to flourish, but only in our imaginations. There are many path-breaking projects and ideas which, due to unforeseen circumstances, fail to make it to the finish line. For example, in the 1600s, the French King Louis XIV set out to build a residence as monumental as his ego. He drained the national treasury to erect his sprawling ornate Palace of Versailles, whose price tag may have reached nearly $300 billion in modern currency. So, in this video, we will discuss about the top 5 unfinished big projects in the world. Hello and welcome to my channel. Hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon for more informative and amazing videos. Let's get started. Number 5. Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany, $250 million. If someone asks you to imagine a castle in your head, the one you would picture is likely Neuschwanstein Castle, a German castle that the castle at Disney World and the Disney logo itself actually took its inspiration from. But what Disney fans likely don't know is that this majestic castle with towering white peaks is actually unfinished. It all began in 1868 when King Louis II decided to build his own medieval-style castle inspired by Hohenschwangau Castle, which is where he grew up, according to Britannica. Hohenschwangau Castle features ornate decor reflecting both legend and poetry, and King Louis II wanted to create a new castle like this for him. Although at the time it was built, castles were no longer needed as strongholds for monarchies, and Neuschwanstein Castle still had a walled courtyard, an artificial cave, and an indoor garden. Yet it also had creature comforts for the time such as running water, hot water, an elevator, telephone lines, and central heating systems. However, King Louis II's big dreams were over when he committed suicide in 1886. Unfortunately, even before that, King Louis II only lived there off and on for about 6 months in total, so he never even got to enjoy much of his fairy tale. Number 4. KELLIE'S Castle, Malaysia, worth $290 million. Unlike many other builders or owners of castles, William Kelly Smith wasn't born rich or to any sort of royal line. Instead, he was just a Scotsman who decided to head to Malaysia to try his luck in business, set the culture trip. But in true rags to riches fashion, things turned around for William once he arrived in the country, and his wealth started to grow thanks to some good investments. So, he decided to build his new wife, Agnes Smith, who he met when he returned to Scotland for a trip, a castle in his new homeland. With his newfound wealth, William wanted to create a castle that would triumph those of his well-to-do neighbors. His home soon had an indoor tennis court, a rooftop entertainment complex, a tower, the region's first elevator, and several stories. However, William's success was short-lived. His investment later failed, and he died of pneumonia when he was only 56 years old. Agnes and the couple's children inherited the stately home, but in their despair, they refused to return to it. Instead, they sold it to a coffee and tea company who wanted to use the land to grow their products. The company chose to invest money into completing the mansion, and it fell into despair and was overtaken by greenery, which is how it remains today. Number 3. La Sagrada Familia, Spain, worth $374 million. With towering peaks of stones, Gothic and Art Nouveau details, and a facade that's visible from almost any point in the city, the Sagrada Familia has been the focal point of Barcelona since architect Antoni Gaudí embarked on his masterpiece in 1882. But despite its stunning appearance, it's actually an unfinished work of art. The trouble began when Gaudí was struck by tram and died in 1926, leaving the church without its chief architect, according to Artsy. Then, about 10 years later, anarchist labor unions took control of Barcelona as a result of the Spanish Civil War, and the Sagrada Familia partly became a victim when construction models, plans, and drawings were destroyed. Things looked like they were turning around for the church when a new architect was named, and later, a fundraising drive and an increased number of visitors brought in needed money to continue Gaudí's ambitious project. Critics, however, called for a pause of the continued construction. as the artists felt that the updated plans couldn't hold a candle to Gaudi's original intentions. Finally, though, there seems to now be a light at the end of the tunnel. In 2019, the first building project permits was approved for the church. According to the church's blog, this new chapter means work on the narthex, on the glory facade, as well as the surrounding area inside, and the Sagrada Familia is planned to finally be completed in 2026. Number 2. BOLDT Castle, United States, worth $680 million. George C. BOLDT was a millionaire as well as an adoring husband. To showcase his life for his wife, Louise BOLDT, the proprietor of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, planned to build a Rhineland castle on Alexandria Bay, a scenic area on Hart Island, according to the castle's website. But only 4 years after construction began, the love story was over for the happy couple. Louise died suddenly, and George couldn't bear to finish the 120-room castle without her, so he packed up and left, never to return, despite all of his hard work. Prior to Louise's death, George had hired 300 workers to create the castle, which featured tunnels, lush Italian gardens, a drawbridge, and a miniature castle for children to play in. For nearly 75 years, the 6-story BOLDT Castle sat abandoned and unfinished until the Thousand Island Bridge Authority acquired the property in 1977 and opened it for visitors. Now, anyone can see this remarkable showcase of love for themselves by first getting to the castle by either their own personal boat or a boat tour. Then, they can check out castle features like a marble staircase, hearts carved into wood, stone and plaster, gold chandeliers, and an imposing library, described the press and Sun Bulletin. As visitors have flocked to see the amazing space, millions of dollars have been used to rehabilitate and restore the structure to its former glory. Number 1. Metropolitan Museum of Art, United States, worth $3.7 billion. We often think of these massive, unfinished structures as only being in faraway lands, but for East Coasters, there's one right around the corner. Take a close look at the unfinished blocks of the facade of the Metropolitan Museum of Art and you can see it for yourself. So how did this fate befall the largest art museum in the United States? As the museum's collection began to outgrow its space after being built in 1895, Richard Morris Hunt was asked to design an addition, which he planned to be a Beaux Arts palace at the full front to elaborate details like sculptures and columns, according to Daytonian in Manhattan. But the timing couldn't have been worse. The Great Depression from 1893 to 1897 continued to pummel budgets during this time, which also affected the museum's addition. Then Hunt died in 1895, leaving the addition without its original leader. The project sculptor had planned to create 4 limestone statues on the front facade and similar statues in the Great Hall on circular stone blanks. In preparation, limestone blocks and the stone blanks were set in place in both areas, but they would remain in the accrued states as funds ran out, even though addition continued in 1911. And later 1975. No one ever finished the plans for the statues. That's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more informative and amazing videos. Thanks for watching.